everyone. Thank you so much for watching this presentation on Adventure Canada's Atlantic Canada Explorer Expedition being presented in partnership with BirdLife International. My name's Brenna Green, and I work for Adventure Canada as an adventure specialist. For more than 30 years, Adventure Canada has been taking people to some of the most remote places on the planet to open their minds, eyes, and hearts to new experiences and inspiring destinations. With 33 years of experience, we have proven ourselves as a leader in the regions we operate. The Adventure Canada experience is about dramatic landscapes, difficult to reach places, wildlife viewing, and engaging with top-notch resource staff and like-minded travelers. BirdLife International and Adventure Canada are both dedicated to a world where nature and people can coexist in a state of harmony. Both organizations support regenerative practices that promote global biodiversity, capacity building, and community innovation that champions local conservation action. We are thrilled to reunite with a fantastic conservation organization. Adventure Canada is working towards a positive future for our planet. We're undertaking a number of initiatives to leave the places we touch and the world a better place. We're reimagining business practices that aren't business as usual. Instead, we're looking at innovative ways that we can run our operation, support our partners, appreciate the natural world, and value people. The Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. We've narrowed down our focus to 9 of the 17 development goals, and this visual showcases a few of the places and ways we are working hard to support the UN goals. We believe that we make a difference, and our guests make a difference when they choose to travel with us. From the heart of the Atlantic Canada, to the wild coast of Greenland and the history-rich waters of the Northwest Passage, Adventure Canada cultivates connection and community wherever we go. Now, of course, we know that COVID-19 is on everyone's minds these days. As leaders in the expedition travel industry, Adventure Canada takes very seriously the ongoing health and safety concerns of all of our guests, staff, and crew during the global COVID-19 pandemic. With less than 200 guests on board our ship, health and safety tactics like pre-boarding testing, social distancing, health monitoring, and if necessary, infection isolation can all be effectively managed. As we approach the 2022 season, we are closely monitoring the situation and will make changes to and further develop these protocols in consultation with the World Health Organization and also the Association of Arctic Expedition Cruise Operators. Additionally, we work closely with the communities we visit on our trips to keep them safe and respect their wishes. In recognition of the current environment, Adventure Canada has adjusted the cancellation terms for enhanced flexibility. I really encourage you to check out our website, speak to your travel agent, or give us a call to learn more about this flexible booking policy. Our 2022 season kickstarts with 4 East Coast itineraries: the mighty St. Lawrence, Newfoundland Circumnavigation, Atlantic Canada Explorer, and then we'll do the Newfoundland Circumnavigation once again. It is possible to combine these trips. If you'd like to do that, just let us know and we can discuss those possibilities of how they can be combined. So for today, we're just focusing on the Atlantic Canada Explorer program, which BirdLife International will be joining us on. So let's take a look at this map. Not everyone is always familiar with an expedition map, so I'd like to clarify a few things here. So on an expedition, it really includes all your daily excursions. So there's none of that picking and paying and then going off with a large third-party tour as you might be familiar with some of the more typical cruise ships. You still get to pick your excursions, of course, but we'll always have a full program that's included, and that'll include options at every single landing that we have. So on some days, there are options to purchase additional enhancements like renting a bike, going out on a kayak, or maybe a special specialized activity at a given location. But for the most part, every single day you will have multiple options to choose from, and all of those are included in the cost. Now, the dots that you see on the map, they do not indicate the stops or the excursions that we're offering. We'll be getting off the ship a lot more than this map necessarily portrays with those dots. Those dots really represent the regions that we're exploring and learning about. And that really takes me into what an expedition really is. And in my mind, it's education and exploration based and less leisure based. Of course, there's still leisure involved. It's a vacation after all, but it really is focused on learning about that region rather than just traveling through it. An expedition is essentially a floating university, is what we like to say, and the subject is the location that you're currently traveling through. And it wouldn't be a university without an assembly of professors, would it? So on the Ocean Endeavour, we refer to our professors as expedition staff. And on this expedition, the subject is Atlantic Canada, with a particular focus on ornithology for our BirdLife International guests. And the classroom is a bit unorthodox. We have a curated team of 25 to 35 expedition staff on board who will be traveling alongside you for the entirety of the expedition. So with a 198 guest maximum, that leaves us with an average of one staff member to every 7 guests, which really allows for those small groups and more one-on-one learning opportunities. Our large team is comprised of experts in geology, archaeology, botany, marine biology, history and politics, ecology and conservation, the arts, and of course, ornithology. Our expedition staff are not on board just to provide lectures. They're all encompassing, fully engaged guides day in and day out. This personable team of regional experts will be very hands-on with you throughout the entire expedition. They'll be leading hikes and walks, interpreting sites on land, driving and interpreting on your zodiacs, facilitating workshops and lectures, and they'll be dining with you, dancing with you, and ultimately they're going to befriend you. But a key component to our team is hiring local to the areas that we'll actually be visiting on this expedition. So our team always includes several local community members who really allow us to learn from regional perspectives. You'll learn about their culture, their food, traditions, history, and much more from staff who actually call these regions home. In addition to our expedition team, we'll have a special BirdLife guest join us on board, as well as Margaret Atwood, past co-president of BirdLife's Rare Bird Club. While she's world renowned for her writing, Margaret is also an avid birder and a lifelong conservationist. Margaret has traveled with Adventure Canada numerous times since 2001. I suppose we just reached our 20th anniversary with Margaret, which is exciting. Our expeditions have even provided inspiration for her writing, including The Stone Mattress in 2011. Her recent book, The Testaments, has a close connection with the regions that we'll be traveling through, so that's an added little bonus. Margaret will be delivering a special presentation during the voyage, as well as she'll be helping support a new program of fellowships at BirdLife International in honor of her late partner, writer and conservationist, Graeme Gibson. Graeme's curiosity, delight in, and appreciation of birds was contagious. The Graeme Gibson Fellowships will inspire the next generation of conservation leaders who will undertake the responsibility of securing the future of our increasingly fragile environment. The program will focus on cultivating a range of critical leadership, communication, and change management skills tailored to each participant's local and international context. In support of BirdLife International and this new Graeme Gibson Fellowship Program, part of every booking fee from BirdLife International members who join us on this expedition will be donated back to BirdLife International, as much as $2,000 per traveler. Now, at this point, I'd like to invite Dennis Minty to join our conversation. So Dennis has been working with Adventure Canada since 2002, almost as long as Margaret, He's a naturalist and a photographer in the Arctic, Newfoundland, Antarctic, New Zealand, Galapagos, and Scotland. His photography has been published worldwide and is the author of 9 books. So, without further ado, let's hear from Dennis.
Hello, my name is Dennis Minty. 2022 will mark my 20th anniversary working with Adventure Canada as a photographer and naturalist. Before that, I worked as a wildlife biologist for over 20 years with the Newfoundland and Labrador Wildlife Service. One of my jobs during that time was to manage the provincial seabird colonies. Another of my jobs was to create and manage the Provincial Wildlife Rehab Center, where I handled scores of birds over the years, especially raptors. So I have a deep and abiding love of wild birds. I've had the good fortune to travel with Graeme Gibson and Margaret Atwood a number of times. I believe the first trip I had with them was through Canada's high Arctic. The most memorable moment of that trip was as we were traveling through Jones Sound, which separates Devon and Ellesmere Islands. The folks on the bridge had spotted a polar bear on the ice and changed course to slowly take us as close as possible. I was on the upper deck amongst a hushed throng of 20 or so people. Margaret and Graeme were next to me. From a distance, we could see a few gulls as well as the bear. When we drew close enough, we could see that the bear was just finishing off a seal, and the gulls were waiting for the pickings. They were very rare ivory gulls. I remember Graeme and I looking at each other in amazement. These were birds that we only dreamed of seeing. We didn't say a word, but our faces said, "This is as good as it gets." We were both deeply moved by that experience and talked of it at length over a single malt later that night. One of the best reasons to travel through Atlantic Canada is to experience seabirds, because you won't find them at inland locations. The northern gannet is the largest seabird of Atlantic Canada. With its 2-meter plus wingspan, it can soar long distances without a wing flap. It needs the wind to travel hundreds of kilometers per day to hunt for the fish that school near the surface like capelin, herring, and mackerel. The biggest colonies in North America are at Bonaventure Island in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and Cape St. Mary's in southern Newfoundland. When we look at the Atlantic puffin, we often think of how comical it is, but this does not do justice to its competence. It can fly at 80 kilometers per hour. It can dive to over 60 meters. It can swim fast enough to catch speeding fish. It thrives the whole winter long out on the North Atlantic, a very unfriendly environment. It can find its home nest through dense fog, and it can lay an egg that is 20% of its own body size. The common murre is a bird that's designed almost as a compromise between being able to fly in water and able to fly in air. It does fly in water using its short wings and very powerful breast muscles to hunt fish, but also in flying in air, it has to beat its wings very, very fast and can move along at quite an incredible speed. It nests in colonies, very dense colonies in some places, of up to 40 birds per square meter, and it lays a single egg on a bare ledge. This bird has incredibly large eyes. If you were to enlarge this bird up to the size of, say, a human, the eyes would be the size of grapefruit. The aerobatic Arctic tern has the longest migration in the entire animal kingdom. It nests in the Arctic and winters in southern South America and Antarctica. This means that it experiences very long periods of daylight through the entire year, affording it the opportunity to feed during those daylight hours that other animals do not get a chance to experience. Flap, glide, hover, plunge, repeat. That's the life of the osprey. It's a fish hunting specialist, and it has a number of adaptations that allow it to be very good at this. It has spines on its toes, all the better to grip slippery fish with. It can rotate one of its forward-pointing toes to the rear to have two forward and two back. It has quite oily plumage so that when it plunges into the water, just a few shakes and it's dried off again. It also dives nearly vertically into the water to avoid the refraction that would make it misaligned with its prey. It really is a fish hunter extraordinaire. During the 1950s and 1960s, the bald eagle was seriously threatened by pesticides such as DDT. It caused the eggs to have very thin shells so that the movement of the parent bird would turn the eggs into omelets. But since the 1970s, when the pesticide was banned, the bald eagle has been thriving again. You might wonder why an otherwise dark-colored bird would have a distinctive white head and tail. Well, this is all about its territorial behavior. When it's roosting in the dark spruce and firs lining the coastal areas, the head and tail stand out as a notice to other birds that this is my territory, you go find somewhere else to hunt. The phrase feather your own nest is probably based on the behavior of the common eider, a robust duck that likes the northern waters. It plucks the down from its own breast in order to line the nest to keep the chicks warm. And we all know the value of eider down as a super insulator, so much so that it is important in an entire textile industry, mainly in Iceland, where the down is harvested after the chicks have fledged. The ruddy turnstone is a wader of the rocky shoreline and sandy beach areas. It has very distinctive markings which show up mainly while it's in flight, and these markings are important for helping to hold the flock together as it flies at high speed along the shoreline. It's called the ruddy turnstone because it flips rocks over in order to look for its main food, being insects and insect larvae, crustaceans, shellfish, and so on, that it finds along the shoreline. In Atlantic Canada, the willow ptarmigan is mostly found in Newfoundland and Labrador, but is also found along the high ground of the bordering the Gulf of St. Lawrence. It's really a winter specialist. It has feathered feet that act as snowshoes. It changes its plumage from rusty browns and blacks with white flecking to a pure white plumage in the winter time. It's able to plunge into deep snowdrifts during the coldest temperatures in order to preserve its heat. The yellow-rumped warbler is a common warbler of the boreal woodlands. It used to be known as the myrtle warbler, but has since been renamed. It ranges further north than most warblers, and this is in part due to it being a more diverse feeder. Most warblers feed almost exclusively on insects and insect larvae, whereas this little warbler is also able to digest some plant foods like seeds and berries. The fox sparrow is a robust sparrow that gets its name from its foxy brown plumage. It loves the dense woodlands where it scratches through leaf litter in order to find its food, which can include both animal and plant matter. It has a gorgeous song, and it's a clear sign of spring when you hear it rising up from the neighboring woodlands. When you say chickadee, you're likely to think of a tiny black-crowned bird flitting about the woods, but there's another chickadee that has a brown crown. It's called the boreal chickadee, and it lives year-round in the boreal forest. It's able to overwinter in this cold climate because it's able to cache its food. It insulates itself by puffing up its feathers It goes through a process called controlled hypothermia. It uses tree cavities to roost in and conserve its warmth. And it eats as much as 20 times more in the winter than it does during the warmer seasons. The savanna sparrow is a diminutive little bird that likes the open barrens, the headlands, and the meadows of Atlantic Canada. It has a very loud and distinctive call. It starts with a few quick notes and then proceeds to a thin, almost insect-like buzz and ends with a lovely trill. There are two species of crossbills in Atlantic Canada, the white-winged and the red crossbill. And they get their name because it has a very unusual beak. It looks like it's misshapen in some ways because the upper bill overlaps the lower bill, almost like a pair of garden shears. But this is a great adaptation for getting at a food source that is unavailable to most other birds, and that is the flat seeds inside the cones of coniferous trees. The red crossbill in Newfoundland is endemic and is considered locally endangered. This has just been a teaser on some of the birds you might see on an Adventure Canada trip through Atlantic Canada. Many species of birds in the region are declining and some are endangered. The biggest problems are habitat loss and almost certainly climate change, but that is very hard to prove. It has been years since I've seen a boreal chickadee in the woods of my neighborhood. It is essential that a new generation of conservationists rise up and take the reins to inspire and educate, and to continue leading the conservation movement for birds. BirdLife International has been a leader in this cause, and with the help of this new fellowship in honor of Graeme Gibson, it will nurture a new group of bird conservationists. Travel well, my friends.
Thank you so much for that, Dennis. All right, everyone. So just before we jump into the day-by-day itinerary, let's just take a quick look at our ship and the types of excursions that you can expect. So the Ocean Endeavour is our ship of choice. She's a 137-meter long expedition vessel. She was originally built to accommodate about 400 guests. So with a maximum of only 198 passengers on board, we've got a lot of wiggle room in the lounge, the dining room, and on the deck. So we can really spread out in those areas. The Ocean Endeavour has a shallow draft, which really enables her to access those isolated places like fjords and bays that we'll be visiting, which is really key to an expedition. The Ocean Endeavour features 1 restaurant, 3 bars, 3 lounges, a library, sauna, pool and hot tub, as well as a spa and daily stretching and yoga classes. Guests are also welcome to visit Captain and his crew in the bridge if you're interested in learning a little bit more about ship operations. In the evening, you can hang out in the lounge and enjoy an array of entertainment from the expedition team, such as concerts and sing-alongs, games, discussions, etc. Outfitted with 20 Zodiacs, our East Coast itineraries are true expeditions. Our safe and sturdy fleet of Zodiacs let us explore coastlines, photograph wildlife, visit isolated communities, and really appreciate unspoiled nature at our own pace on daily excursions. On board, each day's program will include a briefing for upcoming plans, shore excursions, shore landings and excursions. The expedition leader will explain to guests in detail each activity available that day and the mobility and activity level that is required for each of those, which enables you to make an informed decision and choose the excursion that best suits your interests and your needs. You really do choose your level of activity and engagement each day. Expedition landings are one of 3 types of excursions that will be offered throughout the itinerary. On landings, we learn in various ways about a ton of regional and location-specific information from our expedition team. We cater to different mobility levels and topics of interest wherever possible, and we'll break into smaller groups in order to do this. If you're wanting to stretch your legs and get a good amount of exercise in, our expedition team will guide hikes on landings so that you can choose to join in on. They'll vary in length, and elevation and terrain. So there'll be easy and medium hiking options, and then there'll be more difficult and extreme options. If walking is more your speed or you prefer just to learn about a particular topic, we will have themed walks available, such as photography or botany or geology. Of course, for our BirdLife guests, there will be different birding walking tours offered. There's also often stationed interpretation sites that you can stop by and get some more information on from the expedition staff member that's stationed there. If you're an independent type of traveler and you prefer to explore out on your own, you always have the option to move at your own pace on landings. And when you're ready to head back to the ship, you can just hop on a Zodiac, they're standing by, and they'll take you back to the ship. So if you're wanting to explore the landing site on your own, you can maybe find a good spot to sit and read or paint or do some self-discovery. That's perfectly okay. Landings are totally flexible and you can choose how you want to spend that day, whether it's on an organized hike or walk with us or doing something on your own. Our second excursion type is community visits. So we'll use our Zodiacs to access these really remote communities, some of which have absolutely no road access. The nature and scenery of the East Coast is spectacular, of course, but we really find that our guests not only connect to the nature, but more to the beauty of the people who call it home. Our East Coast itineraries offer the opportunity to not only learn about the culture, but actually experience the culture, as well as the art, history, songs, and stories from those host communities. But we don't just use the Zodiacs to get to and from land or to communities. We'll also just use them for pleasure. We'll go out on our third and final excursion type, which is Zodiac cruising. This is a really brilliant way to get up close with nature, to explore and learn in those really hard to reach places, the places that we can't get to with our ship or by land. There are many areas along the coast that cannot be accessed any other way other than by Zodiac. These boats are extremely durable and can easily navigate shallow waters, which is really handy in the changing tides of this region. They really help us get a closer look at bird cliffs and other points of interest, and also search for marine life, of course. You'll always have a member of the expedition team driving your Zodiac, so there's lots of opportunity for interpretation. All right, so let's now look at the day-by-day itinerary. So we'll be visiting the rich waterways of Canada's East Coast on the Atlantic Canada Explorer program. We'll sail the Grand Banks where the icy waters of the Labrador Current mix with the warm Gulf Stream, creating one of the world's greatest marine ecosystems and richest fishing waters. This itinerary is dominated by islands: Saint-Pierre, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, Cape Breton, and one of the island's most difficult to reach in the world, which is Sable Island, home to the rare roseate tern and the endemic Ipswich sparrow. The natural wonders of these areas are complemented by their rich cultural backdrops. This expedition starts and ends in St. John's, Newfoundland, so a nice easy round trip flight to and from St. John's International Airport. I do really recommend that you spend some time in St. John's or the surrounding area just before the expedition or afterwards if you'd prefer, but it's a really great place and I really do recommend that you spend a couple of nights in St. John's. It will be well spent. From St. John's, we kickstart the expedition with what I believe to be is the biggest highlight of the trip: 2 days on the hard-to-reach Atlantic gem of Sable Island. Sable Island, literally translating to Isle of Sand, is a 42-kilometer-long national park reserve located 290 kilometers offshore from Halifax. Sable Island has a long and fascinating human history which spans more than 4 centuries. More than 350 vessels have been wrecked due to rough seas, fog, and submerged sandbars surrounding the island, earning it the title, which isn't the greatest title to have, but it has the title of Graveyard of the Atlantic. Canada's first life-saving station was established in 1801 here. On the island, a population of approximately 500 wild horses still roam the island freely. Although popular legends claim Sable Island horses swam ashore from the island's many shipwrecks or were introduced by 16th century Portuguese explorers, this is not supported by historical or genetic evidence. The horses on the island today are most likely descendants of animals that were seized by the British from the Acadians during their expulsion from Nova Scotia. But I don't believe that anyone knows for certain how the horses got here. The island is also home to the world's biggest breeding colony of gray seals. Approximately 400,000 gray seals come to the island, which has made it a designated protected breeding area. Plants, birds, and insects have all adapted to life on Sable, some of which are found nowhere else on Earth. More than 350 species of birds have been recorded on the island, with 16 species known to breed there. From terns, gulls, ducks, and shorebirds to more rare birds like the Ipswich sparrow, which is the only songbird to breed on Sable and nests almost exclusively on the island. In addition to our expedition team, we'll also have some folks from Parks Canada join us to really increase that level of interpretation and the variety of knowledge that's on the island. We'll also be collaborating with Zoe Lucas, who is the sole human resident on Sable Island and has been working with Adventure Canada since 2014. Zoe is a naturalist and has lived on the island for more than 40 years. She is the founding member and president of the Sable Island Institute and also established the Friends of the Green Horse Society, which is a not-for-profit that supported biodiversity studies on Sable Island. Zoe has spent most of her adult life on Sable Island transplanting beach grass, observing wild horses, and mapping bees and flowers. You'll have 2 full days on the island that you can spend however you please. There will be organized hikes around the island for those of you who want to see more of the island and you want to stretch your legs, get a good amount of steps in. And there'll also be themed walking groups led by expedition staff. For example, the photographer will likely lead a photography walk to help folks take those stunning photos of the horses and the seals and the birds. And the photographer on board also leads a Nikon loaner program where guests can borrow different camera equipment such as lenses and tripods to use on board or on land. Sable Island would be a really great opportunity to take advantage of the Nikon program and use some of that gear alongside the photographer. But Sable Island is also a great opportunity to just sit back and soak it all in. We spend approximately 6 hours on land each day, weather permitting, of course. So you may choose to spend some of that time just on a beach with a good book and or sit on the grass and observe the wild horses and just enjoy the ocean view. Sable Island is a really big bucket list for some people. Some people have wanted to go here their entire lives, particularly those who are interested in photographing wildlife. So everyone does Sable Island a little bit differently, different ideas and wishes to be had here. So we really keep our days flexible to work with the weather and also to just allow everyone to spend their time here as they wish. So after 2 days spent on Sable Island, we'll begin our transit through the Gully Marine Protected Area, which is located approximately 200 kilometers off Nova Scotia to the east of Sable Island on the edge of the Scotian Shelf. Over 65 kilometers long and 15 kilometers wide, the gully is the largest underwater canyon in western North Atlantic. Its ecosystems provides habitat for a wide diversity of species, from tiny plankton to sharks, tunas, swordfish, and seabirds to crabs, sea pens, brittle stars, and approximately 30 species of cold water corals. It is also home to the endangered Scotian Shelf population of northern bottlenose whales and is an important habitat for 15 other species of whales and dolphins. Special permission is needed to visit this ecozone, and we're lucky enough to travel with this important area with researchers who are actively researching the area while we're transiting through. Some of the gully conservation objectives that these researchers are looking for, they are minimizing harmful impacts from human activities on populations and their habitats, minimize the disturbance of seafloor habitat and associated communities caused by human activities, maintain and monitor the quality of the water and the sediments of the gully, and of course, manage human activities to minimize impacts on other commercial and non-commercial living resources. So that's just some of their objectives. Guests will have the opportunity to participate in citizen science opportunities on board along these researchers. So that should be pretty unique and fascinating. Next, we'll move just east of Sydney to explore the Fortress of Louisbourg, a national historic site that transports you back to the French colonial life between 1713 and 1758, when the French and English crowns fought for control of the New World. The fortress is the largest historical reconstruction in North America and offers an incredible window to all aspects as lived by some of the first European settlers. Approximately 1/4 of the historic town has been reconstructed. In addition to massive fortifications, over 65 buildings have been rebuilt. When you step through Louisbourg's fortress walls, it's like a complete time warp back to the 1700s. You can chat with fishermen, sailors, and servants, all of which remain in character completely, and act as if it is truly the 1700s. Sip rum and participate in lace making, play 300-year-old games, or sit by an open fire. You can watch reenactments of marching soldiers, dances, and cannon launches, and can walk through the reconstructed town, Mi'kmaq Interpretive Center, or stretch your legs on some of the nearby hiking trails. From Louisbourg, we'll sail towards Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, firstly in search of the Bird Islands, which are an official bird sanctuary located 1 mile off Cape Dauphin and home to a great number of seabirds each year. They host the largest colony of great cormorants in North America, along with many other species, including Atlantic puffins, razorbills, black guillemots, double-breasted cormorants, black-legged kittiwags, herring gulls, blue herons, and bald eagles. We'll cruise the islands by zodiac for an up-close look. When you're not busy viewing the birds, you'll be captivated by the spectacular coastline and the surrounding scenery. And if we're lucky, maybe we'll see a whale or two while we're out here. After the Bird Islands, we're just a hop, skip, and a jump from Chetty Camp, a thriving Acadian stronghold and bustling fishing village on the west coast of Cape Breton Island, where we'll have a close look at this authentic Acadian community of only 4,000 residents. You'll often hear the lively sounds of Acadian being spoken by the locals, and in the restaurants, you can sample some typical Acadian food. We'll spend our time here exploring the town, which is the center of rug hooking and many other fine crafts. You can explore the boardwalk and fishing harbor, gift and craft shops and pubs, the Elizabeth Lefort Gallery and the Marguerite Gallant Collection and Acadian Museum showcase an expansive collection of incredible tapestries and rug hooking, as well as antiquities reflecting daily life during the settlement of Chetty Camp. The locals may treat us to a traditional Gaelic party known as a céilí for food, drinks, dancing, and fiddle music while we're here. Chetty Camp acts as the gateway to the Cape Breton Highlands National Park. Around 200 species of birds have been observed in or near Cape Breton Highlands National Park. About half of these species are known to breed here. Others use the park as a stopover area during their annual migrations in the spring and fall, while a number overwinter here, especially seabirds. A few species of birds which were introduced to North America, such as the European starling and the rock dove, have spread to Cape Breton. Along the park's coast, herring and great black-backed gulls, black guillemots, and great and double-crested cormorants nest on the rock pillars and ledges during the summer. For those of you who are up for the trek, you will have the opportunity to hike the famed Skyline Trail. The trail has been marked as easy level, so it's suitable for all visitors. It is almost 9 kilometers in length if you're doing the full loop, and it can take anywhere between 2 and 3 hours to complete it, with an elevation reaching between 950 to 1,300 feet. From the trail, you'll enjoy an eagle's view of the Cabot Trail as it winds its way down the mountain. You can watch for whales in the Gulf of St. Lawrence from the viewing decks and keep an eye out for moose, bald eagles, bears, and the numerous boreal birds that live in this habitat. From Cape Breton, we move to Prince Edward Island, where we'll dock in the charming city of Summerside, the second largest city on the island, and about a 45-minute drive from Charlottetown. There will be a tour of the town, or you can explore independently if you prefer, as well as an included visit to Lennox Island Mi'kmaq First Nation. There will also be 2 optional enhancements on this day: a bus tour of Charlottetown and Confederation Bridge, as well as the Anne of Green Gables experience. For our final 2 days together, we'll move to the south coast of Newfoundland, where we'll explore the fjords, cliffs, and islands in true expedition style. An example of one of those stops on Newfoundland's south coast is a stop into François. When entering François Harbor by boat, visitors are first greeted by one of the few remaining manned light stations in Newfoundland. Once you're past the light, visitors are astounded by the narrow opening leading into the steep-walled rocky fjord that is François. Clinging to the cliffs, the community of François comprises one of the few outports on the south coast of Newfoundland to survive the resettlement program of Newfoundland's first premier. One of the first things that you'll notice once you've entered the fjord and you can actually see the quaint community is the many fishing vessels that are docked here and the color of the homes: reds, blues, purples, yellows, greens. François has no roads, just boardwalk paths that connect one end to the other. The population of François is around 90 people. There's a general store, a post office, a small museum that you can check out, as well as some hikes and walks for elevated views overlooking this really unique place. One of our final islands to explore is the French territory of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, which lie only 12 miles off Newfoundland's Berne Peninsula. Saint-Pierre is the smallest and the most populated of the 3 main islands, and it acts as the first landfall for birds arriving from the south or southeast. The coasts are interesting to visit for shorebirds, but also seabirds, which are quite common as well. The small woods have nesting sparrows and warblers, although numbers of the latter have dwindled for years. Miquelon is interesting, with a concentration of thousands of eiders, hundreds of long-tailed ducks, mergansers, and numerous red-necked grebes. The islands are what remains of the once vast French Empire in North America. The French explorer Jacques Cartier, while visiting the islands for the first time in 1536, found several French vessels already fishing in this area. The islands have been inhabited since 1687, mostly by cod fishermen. While Saint-Pierre and Miquelon is near Newfoundland and share its climate and its geography, they share very little else in common. While exploring Saint-Pierre, you'll use the euro, you'll experience French food, wine, music, and of course, language. Indeed, it is culturally distinct and uniquely fascinating. We have a full day to check out this quaint island before we head back to St. John's. We'll set sail one last time from Saint-Pierre and Miquelon through the St. John's Narrows into the famous harbor, where we will dock for a nice, easy departure through the St. John's International Airport. We currently have some promotions. There's a 15% early booking bonus that expires on June 1st of 2021. We have a 10% multi-trip promotion. We also have some family-friendly promotions. If you're looking to bring the grandkids, we do have 30% off for our guests who are under 30 years of age. If you want to check out the full list of all of our incentives and promotions, they are online. So please do go to our website, adventurecanada.com, and check out some of the promotions online. And as I did mention before, as guests of BirdLife International, a donation of up to $2,000 per traveler goes back to BirdLife International as part of your booking fee with Adventure Canada. So if you do want to look into this further, or you'd like to receive a detailed quote to consider, some booking information, or you're just ready to book, you're keen on this itinerary, I don't blame you. Please do contact our team as soon as you can. We have a team of adventure specialists standing by. You can write down the contact information here. Email is info@adventurecanada.com, or you can always give us a call at 1-800-363-7566, or you can also reach out to Sarah Proud with BirdLife International, and her email's there as well. You can contact Sarah at sarah.proud@birdlife.org. So thank you again all so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. I'll leave you with this video. Enjoy, take care, and I hope to see you on board next year. Bye-bye.
One of the great things that we do at Adventure Canada is take people to remote places, and Sable Island, which is wild and windswept and in the middle of the North Atlantic, it's a true adventure. Adventure Canada has a long history with Parks Canada. Pretty much since our company came to fruition in 1987, we've had the relationship with Parks Canada, and that legacy of a positive working relationship and safe operation in Canada's most remote parks, what has allowed us the great fortune of being selected for this pilot project. Adventure Canada's expedition team ranges anywhere from 15 to 20 staff on any given expedition, and they are world-class travelers and adventurers that have traveled the globe all throughout Canada. So the teams we put together are a great mix of adventurers and also experts in the regions that we're visiting.
This trip has been indescribable. The most important thing for me was the excellent preparation and information that we got from Adventure Canada, because taking such a large group to such a sensitive area requires a lot of work so as to minimize the impact. And just seeing that in action has been a real pleasure.
And so it was a very nice, comfortable boat, and a lot of fun, and a lot of nice people. Fun. Yeah, a lot of fun.